Hump Day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to First Take. Thank you for spending part of your day here with us, Molly, Karam, in good old Bristol. These two lovelies, Stephen A. and Max. Hello, gentlemen.
Well,
on the road.
Let's make sure on the road is not good enough to say this morning, Max.
I'm sorry.
Molly Wood. I am in the nation's capital. The Wizards and Warriors tonight. That needs to be pointed out.
Okay, sorry.
The
I
reigning
never
defending
know when
world
I can
champions on the
disclose
nation's
your
capital.
locations or not. I'm never.
That's right.
I'm never sure how I should play
well,
that.
Here's a simple rule. You can tell the world anywhere that I am within the states. Now, when I go to the tropics, it's an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's right. Hi, Max. All right, guys, let's get into it. So the blockbuster trade, the Cavs were looking desperado prior to it, but with their new players in the lineup, they're 4-2 with wins over the Celtics and the Thunder. And LeBron, he messed around and had a triple-double for the entire month of February. Stephen A. Smith, has this season been a good or bad one for LeBron?
Well, for me, it hasn't been great because I'm not looking at the numbers. When he's averaging 26, 9, and 8, I expect that, and we all understand the greatness of LeBron James. We get all of that. This is not about that. When you talk about LeBron James, he's graduated from the point where you're looking at numbers, particularly from November to mid-April. This is a man that's judged by what occurs in April, May, and June. We understand that. So from a numbers perspective, of course he's great. We're not debating that. But in terms of the greatness of this season, we have to put things in perspective. We have to take into account the drama that has existed in Cleveland. We have to take into account why that drama existed to begin with. It was because LeBron James, the player, as great as he is, didn't do his job as a leader. He didn't do his job because Kyrie Irving is in Boston. And Kyrie Irving is in Boston primarily in large part because of LeBron James, whether it's the way LeBron James played, whether it's the way LeBron James elected to lead, whether it was his willingness or lack thereof to want to be a part of it. Now, that doesn't mean they're enemies. It doesn't mean they hate each other or anything like that. They're grown men. They're both class personified. They're very adult. So they're going to speak like they did during All-Star Weekend. They're going to get along. Everything's going to be copacetic. We understand that. But in the end, what it comes down to is Kyrie Irving, who is a superstar in this game and one of the elite guards that we have ever seen, was in Cleveland and wanted to leave and did not want to play with LeBron James any longer. The fact that you lost that guy and nothing that you've acquired makes up for losing that guy is a step back. It's not a step forward, which is why I would say that I'm not going to attach the word good because I'm not thinking about LeBron's individual heroics as a player. I'm thinking about LeBron, the leader. When you lose that quality of a player and because he doesn't want to play with you, he wants his own shine, that is an indictment against you as a leader, and that's where the bad comes in.
But when did that take place?
Beginning of the season.
Before the season.
Well, you can say it's before the season, but everything that's happened during the season is a residual impact from that move.
Is it LeBron's fault that Paul George is not on the Cavs or Eric Bledsoe's not on the Cavs?
Some would argue yes, Max.
How's that?
Because things that were transpiring during negotiations or what have you as it pertained to Paul George and Eric Bledsoe. Again, when you don't have the relationship that you should have with Dan Gilbert as well, maybe those things contributed to it. Well, you could say that, but LeBron plays a role in that too. It takes two.
No, that's Dan Gilbert's fault. Dan Gilbert is a spoiled basketball know-nothing who thinks he knows something and is just lucky that LeBron happened to be born in Akron, Ohio, and happened to be drafted to the Cavs. That's the problem. He's a crybaby when LeBron left. He spoiled the relationship. LeBron hasn't forgotten, and the only reason and the only way he'll spend money on a roster going forward is if LeBron. So think about if you're a Cavs fan. Hold up, time out, Dan Gilbert. You won't commit to Paul George or Eric Bledsoe because LeBron. You won't give us a good team going forward because LeBron won't commit to you. How do you figure that? How do you figure that's okay? That's not okay. That's not LeBron. That's Dan Gilbert. Terrible owner, rotten organization as a result. LeBron's the only thing propping that up. Now to the point about Kyrie. I agree with you. It looks increasingly, and it looks bad because Kyrie, I don't think they're going to get past the Cavs in the playoffs this year, but Kyrie has, by and large, played the right way, tried to lead that group the right way, is showing he could be the best player on a winning team, not just look great finishing in the paint, not just be deployed as an offensive weapon the way LeBron was using him. Kyrie is showing something. So then you do look at LeBron and you say, well, why isn't he there? But all that stuff took place before the season. We're talking about, is this season good or bad for LeBron? And even then, Stephen A., I could understand if you would say, you know what? How's the team performing? Up to LeBron team's normal standards? Is he playing defense much? And all that would be legitimate. But here is why I think you're wrong. LeBron James is the oldest player ever with the most minutes and miles, the most minutes on his legs, by far, ever to play at this level. So you talked yesterday about an argument I had. You said you had to contextualize. You must contextualize LeBron James. And the reason we don't is because, as you said, 26, 9, and 8, or whatever the averages are, you said, I expect that from LeBron James. Think about that for a second. You expect a player. No players come close to this production with this many miles and minutes on his legs. You just expect it from LeBron. That's why this is not perceived as a good season, because he set the standard so high, just made you think he can do the impossible forever, that he doesn't get credit when he does it. He's had an amazing season.
Well, listen, you can look at it that way. I'm like this. We universally recognize him and religiously recognize him as the best in the world. What do you want? You want to give him a pedicure next? Well, give him a foot massage? I mean, what the hell do you want to do? I mean, there's but so much you can say about the guy. We know about his greatness. We know that he's a physical freak of nature. LeBron, as he ages, other people age and attrition kicks in and they lose a step, plus they get hurt. LeBron doesn't even get hurt. All right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at him and you just say, this physical specimen that he is. Now, obviously, the lack of physicality that exists in today's game compared to years past is something that has to be taken into consideration as well. You've got to wonder how long other people would have lasted if they did not have to endure the physicality. Keep in mind that the NBA had to change the rules to some degree because of the bad boy Pistons implementing the Jordan rules, okay? And the New York Knicks under Pat Riley with Oakley and Mason and those boys ultimately trying to invoke their own brand of Jordan rules, even though it wasn't just against Jordan. It was against a bunch of people anyway, because they played and engaged in roughhouse tactics. So the rules of the game were modified and changed. And as a result, what LeBron has been subjected to physically is nothing compared to what other dudes may have been subjected to. And they were about 30 to 40 pounds lighter. We can't ignore that.
Well, except that take those cases one at a time. Michael Jordan didn't retire because of physical stress. It was life stress and maybe mental fatigue. He wanted to try something else. That's what broke up the 2 three-peats. Larry Bird's back went out. His back went out. Like if it was going to go out, you want to give him an extra couple of years. He's still not near LeBron. Magic Johnson got sick from off the court stuff. So like those are the three guys who would compete with LeBron for that title, right? Of the non-bigs. And none of that had to do really with the era they played in.
Well, not necessarily so, Max. I mean, when you take into account Jordan and some of the things that he was subjected to, yes, his father passed away, and that's what ultimately what led to his first retirement. He comes back for another three-peat or what have you. But the game was still considerably physical, and obviously that takes some years away from you. Larry Bird wasn't sitting in the sunshine and developed a bad back from that. He developed a bad back from playing basketball and subjecting himself to what he subjected himself to. So we got to take that into account. Even
but if
somebody
you gave Larry Bird an extra 2 or 3 years, he's still not LeBron.
Hold on, Patrick Ewing with the bad knees. We can't ignore that. How about Alonzo Mourning? How about Alonzo Mourning with the kidney issue? But
Alonzo's not in that class. Patrick is not in this class.
Oh, my God. Will you listen, please? What I'm saying to you is that what you subject yourself to. In other words, you might take information, you might take medication and anti-inflammatories and things of that nature that folks will pump into their system. All of these kind of things are the things that have been talked about throughout NBA circles as contributing to the health demise of players. I'm saying in this day and age, it's not as physical as it once was. And as a result of that, you benefit from it.
Generally. But you can't bring up Patrick or Alonzo because they had no chance to ever be in the class of player we're talking about. And I love Patrick Ewing. Stephen A., he was the guy for me growing up. He hurt his knee as a rookie, but Patrick Ewing was never going to be on LeBron James or Michael Jordan level.
It's not about that.
It just is what it is.
The subject's about the health issue in terms of the way the league was compared to what it is now physically.
Right, but that's only relevant if you take examples from the past of guys who would otherwise have been LeBron James level for this long. long, but they couldn't be because of the league they played in. And I'm giving you examples. I don't think that applies to Magic. I don't think that applies to Bird. I don't think that applies to Jordan. LeBron James right now, you know, in baseball, there's a rising fastball. Now, it doesn't actually rise. That's impossible because gravity over time will take an object toward the earth. It actually is declining. It's going toward the earth.
And
why
we
does
don't
it
know
seem...
that. Who do you think you're talking to? Kyrie Irving? Everybody doesn't believe the earth is flat. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, who doesn't know that?
So why does it seem like it's rising? Because the spin the pitcher puts on the ball makes it decrease at a rate slower than you would expect. So to the batter, he's anticipating the ball's going to be somewhere, but it's higher than he's anticipating. So to the batter, it anticipates, it feels like he's rising. That's LeBron James. Even if he is declining, he is declining at such a slow pace that people are actually sitting around going, is he getting better? Which is impossible, but he's making us imagine that. How could he be having a bad year?
It does raise an eyebrow that he gets better as everyone gets worse. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, then. Cliffhanger. LeBron, just the fourth player ever to average a triple-double for a full month, joining the Big O, Westbrook and Will. But LeBron's BFF, gentlemen, also put in work yesterday, too. We saw vintage D. Wade as he hit the game winner to take down the up-and-coming 76ers last night. So he was certainly playing inspired basketball, dedicating the rest of his season to Stoneman Douglas High School student Joaquin Oliver. Oliver was one of the 17 people killed by a gunman in Parkland, Florida. Wade paid tribute to Oliver on his sneakers after finding out that he was buried wearing a Wade jersey. Here's Dwayne on his tribute.
Part of away from the game of basketball, as I continue saying, just, understanding how important, we are as professionals. And for me, it's just giving whatever I can, to people who believe in me. Especially people who's happy about, me coming back here, who embraced me the way that I only could dream of with me coming back home. So, just paying some due respect to him and his family tonight. So, appreciate you noticing that.
Love that Dwayne did that. Students at Stoneman Douglas returned to school for the first time since the shooting today. We are thinking of all of them. Before the game, Wade was asked about his future with the Heat, telling the Miami Herald he's undecided on if he'll retire after this season. Max, you're up. If Wade calls it quits, how will we remember him?
Unfortunately, I believe he will be underrated by history. Let's not forget, Dwayne Wade for years was top 3 player in the game, along with Kobe and Tim Duncan. Dwayne Wade had the bet between Michael Jordan in his prime and LeBron when he had his great finals. The greatest final that was had by any player was Dwayne Wade against the Mavericks with Shaquille O'Neal, but Dwayne Wade was the star of the show. Wade was an all-time great, the 3rd greatest shooting guard of the modern era, but Stephen A., I believe he will be underrated by history for several reasons. Number 1, he coexisted with Kobe Bryant, who was a little bit bigger, a little bit better, for a little bit longer. So he doesn't get the top spot of his era. 2, he co-starred with LeBron James as clearly the 2nd best player on that team. And when there was a little bit of a confusion about who would take the lead, in fact, they didn't win. It wasn't until it was very clear LeBron is the guy that they won the championships. 3, he came along right before analytics really changed the game. So I'm afraid that history will look at his numbers and say he wasn't as efficient as he should have been, etc. 4, we're now in an era of 6'10" guys, basically, who play the same position he does, give or take. Paul George, Kevin Durant. I mean, you could talk about a 2 or a 3, but you know what it is. The Greek Freak, positionless basketball, where all you know is this is a 2-way wing, except instead of 6'4", they're 6'10". Not to mention, I mentioned like the analytics, guys like James Harden who play the same position, who put up absurd numbers in this day and age. So for a variety of reasons, I'm afraid that Dwayne Wade, Stephen A. will wind up like a Connie Hawkins figure. Connie Hawkins is a guy who people who saw him will swear by him to this day. But he's largely forgotten when people talk about the greatest players who ever played the game. His name doesn't come up enough, and I'm afraid that the same fate awaits Dwayne Wade.
The fate that may await Dwayne Wade that you're alluding to is because of people like you. I blame people like you and others that are more focused on numbers than actually watching the damn games. Y'all will sit up there and watch the game, and then y'all will rely upon numbers, and numbers tell you the whole story instead of having an eye for flat-out ballers. Dwayne Wade was never Michael Jordan. Dwayne Wade ain't Kobe Bryant. But Dwayne Wade being anywhere from a top 3 to top 5 off guard all time is not an insult. He's going into the Hall of Fame. He's got 3 rings. He's an NBA Finals MVP. And he's universally recognized as one of the greatest off guards in the history of basketball. And so because of that, the fact that you're a member of the conversation automatically should surmise that you're not going to be underrated or underappreciated, because he was never considered the greatest. It was always going to be a player or 2 or 3 that were considered better than him at the off-guard spot. But you still were going to recognize him as being elite. That room that they talk about where you can have a plethora of Hall of Famers, but there's certain rooms that the elite Hall of Famers are. Michael Jordan might be in a different room than a Patrick Ewing or a Reggie Miller, who was great but never won a title. But Dwayne Wade's going to be in that elite room. Dwayne Wade is going to be in that same room with MJ, that same room with Magic, that same room with LeBron, that same room with the Oscar Robinsons of the world and people like that. Dwayne Wade is going to be in that room. So if we take anything away, hold on. If we take anything away from him, it's going to be because we got cats that are looking at numbers. They're not taking into account the way the game has changed and softened considerably in this era, and how it's more conducive because dudes up in the league office wanted to soften the game and make it more entertaining for the viewer at large, and how elite guys ultimately end up benefiting from it because they came in a later era. Those numbers guys are not going to look at it. But there will always be people like me around who will say, damn Nat, you should look at this. Watch the damn game. Watch these guys ball, particularly in moments where it counts. Max, there's a few dudes that if you really, really look at it, that will remain nameless. Oh, they're very, very good. They're very, very good at catching you off a back-to-back. They're very good at catching you on an off night, or when you go into a city like ATL or Toronto or New York City or LA, and then you have to play against them. Oh, they're very, very good at giving you numbers then. But when it really, really counts, you got an APB out for them. You can't find them in a damn place. Those are the difference. That's the difference. Numbers don't tell that story.
Wade is a thoroughbred. Wade is a champion, 100%. And you can't accuse me of only looking at numbers when I'm the one sitting here bringing up the fact that he will be underrated because the numbers will not reflect how great he really was because he got caught in a transitional period.
I can accuse you of it because I expect you to be one of those people that would listen. If you watch Dwayne Wade,
too.
Now I'm going to what you're saying, Max. I'm coming right at you. I'm accusing you of doing this, Max. I'm not accusing you of ignoring his greatness. I'm not accusing you of ignoring his greatness. I know you know. What I'm saying to you is, who the hell will be the first person to remind us of those damn analytics dudes? Who's going to be the first person that brings that up? It's going to be Max Kellerman. You're going to bring up MIT. You're going to bring up sessions in Boston in the summertime. You're going to bring up all of that
Second
stuff.
Spectrum.
Okay, this is what you Second Spectrum, all of that stuff.
That's
know, the 530, all of that stuff. That's going to be you.
But those are only tools. They're not definitive. We're never going to have perfect knowledge of sports, nor should we want perfect knowledge of sports. If we had it and could make perfect predictions and assessments, what's the point in watching it? But it's a tool that you can use.
Let me simplify and clarify my position when it comes to you. There's a beautiful desk in front of me. My iPad is on it right now, okay? I'm looking at the desk and I'm saying, damn, this desk looks pretty damn good. Max is thinking about the wrench, the screwdriver, and all the little tools that put it together.
That went into making up the desk?
That's Max Kellerman. I'm saying that's what you're going to do. I'm not saying you know what it takes, but in the same breath, you're going to focus on the tools around the desk, and I'm going to focus on the fact this damn finished product is nice.
Can I just mention this? If Dwayne Wade is in the same room with Michael Jordan at that party, I don't remember Coming to America when they thought they were getting invited to the house, but really they wanted them to serve drinks and stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if Dwayne Wade is in the Michael Jordan room. If he is, he may be there serving drinks.
What
I
I'm
don't know if
saying
he's in the Jordan room.
Well, I'm not trying to put him on Jordan's level. I'm saying Jordan's not going to be in a room by himself. There are levels.
Right.
And D Wade is on an elite level. There are Hall of Famers who never experienced and put forth what D Wade experienced and put forth. It's just that simple.
And my point is, I agree with you. The room that Wade belongs in, maybe not the Jordan room, but the next one. And I'm afraid that history is going to put him in the one after that,
who
and he
belongs
doesn't
in the room with Jordan? Who belongs in the room with Jordan? Bill Russell?
Well, yeah, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a couple others.
All right.
Maybe.
I mean, if that's a separate room, that's fine. All I'm telling you is that D Wade is going to be closer to that room than some of those other.
Is he in the
Hall of
Larry
Famers.
Bird, Magic Johnson room?
Hell yes.
Is he in the?
Hell yes. Hell yes.
No, I think he's in the room right after that. I think he's in the room right after that. I don't want him in the room after that one. A lot of rooms.
Max, you built the desk ground up. I'm proud of you.
3-time champion.
Wade has 12 All-Star games, 3 chips, but I want to read a tweet by him, guys, that I found really powerful before we go to break here. This is Joaquin Oliver. He was one of the 17 young lives that were lost tragically at Douglas High School in Parkland. Joaquin was one of many that I heard was excited about my return to Miami, and yesterday was buried in my jersey. This is why we will not just shut up and dribble. Much more coming up on First Take. It turns out it was a catch after all. So how should Cowboys fans feel about a change on one of the most controversial calls in history? Stephen A. versus Will, do not miss it. And Aaron Rodgers is talking with the Packers about a new contract, but find out why that bad man shouldn't want to be the highest paid QB in the game. First Take, just getting started. Keep it locked.